On this video, we're going to be talking about how to value your business. Now, I've gone a step ahead and actually created a calculator for you to go and use on my website. So if you want it, it's going to be in the description below. And basically what it does, you don't have to use your email or your phone number. It doesn't ask you what your business is. And it also won't save the numbers and whatever. You can literally just go use this for free right now. So when it comes to selling your business, one of the things that people do is they think they're like a seller does is they generally think that their business is a lot more valuable than it actually is. And so the point of this calculator here that we've created is to show you that the kind of like a ballpark figure of the most realistic type of figure you're going to get for your business. Now, I would also recommend you engage with someone like a proper business broker. So, you can just click up the top here and go to contact, and you can reach out to us and we'll value your business for you. The reason that I would recommend valuing the business with an actual broker is because, let me get rid of that, is there's going to be some certain factors that you want to make sure that you're taking into consideration when you value your business. So don't go on Claude or ChatGPT and just ask, what would the value of my business be if I'm making this amount of profit? Because it's not going to give you a realistic figure or idea. Even when you use this here, I've created this calculator so that it gives you the most realistic idea and figure. But again, there are going to be other factors in your business that play a big role on whether the multiple is higher or lower. So even though you can use this here, it's still important to go and use a broker. Now, the calculations and mathematics behind this, in short, are you're going to figure out what your net profit is, right? So if you went onto your P&L, wherever you collect that data of your business, you go to your P&L and you go to the last trailing 12 months. So from this date right now, 12 months prior. If you're come up to a recent end of financial year, if it's quite recent, then you would go off that financial year. But if you're kind of a few months after the end of the financial year, or 6 months after, so halfway through a financial year, then you want to generally do the trailing 12 months. Again, this is where it gets technical because you're also going to want to do the years prior and then potentially find a weighted average or an average of those anywhere from 2 to 3 years prior to come up with the valuation. So you can see why it gets a little bit tricky and why you want to, ideally work with an actual broker. But in general, right, generally speaking, you'll find your net profit for the most recent trailing 12 months. And then whatever that net profit is, you'll multiply that by anywhere from like a 1.5 to sometimes, businesses can go wild up into the 10x. But you need to be in a specific sort of industry, at a specific size, with a specific operations, and so on there. Again, what's the average business? Anywhere that's like small to medium market, which is probably where you're hovering around. If you're doing under $1 million in EBITDA, so net profit, you're going to be looking anywhere from like a 2 to even like a 3x here in Australia specifically. Also, the countries are different. So the US generally has higher multiples than here in Australia. And a lot of the time in the US, people can buy businesses taking out loans from the government. So you can go to the government, as long as you've got a 10% down payment, the government will lend you the rest. You can't do that here in Australia. So yeah, anyway. So what you're going to do here, right, because you're a business owner, you don't need to know the mathematics and equations behind valuing a business. You engage with someone like us to do it for you. But I still wanted to create something for you here that you can use to just kind of decide like where you're at right now and if maybe selling the business is something that excites you after the figure you get here. Maybe it's something you want to do now, or maybe it's something you go, maybe I need to work in the business a little bit until, we get to the right spot. So what I want you to do here is write in your annual revenue. So we're going to say 4,357,000. Okay, so that's our annual revenue in sales. Now the net profit, right? We're going to take out the cost of goods and take out all of the expenses. The net profit, let's say we are at around there. Let's say we're at $984,500. $984,500. So that's our profit, right? Now, our ad backs. What are ad backs? So click on this table here. Ad backs are generally like your salary. Anything that's personalized you're putting through the business. So if you're putting through your phone, your car payments, insurance, maybe some travel, entertainment, gifts, some other things you're putting through the business as an expense, that's what we would add back. Now, on average, I like to say, we're doing probably about a 5% add back. So let's just say on $984,000 profit, let's say we're adding back, let's just say $40,000, right? So adding back $40,000. Now the trajectory, on average, businesses aren't really growing by the time they want to sell because they don't really choose to sell their business with it, which is a silly idea. So we're just going to go with stable. How dependent is the business on you? Now it's very, very uncommon for a business to be not reliant on the owner. So, a good test is like if you walked outside today and got hit by a bus, would your business still continue to run as is without you? Like nothing really changes. It's very rare that that's the case. And, businesses that are at that point generally have a lot of money, like they're making a lot, they're well and truly established, which, because they're making a lot, it's allowed them to invest in having, more of a team structure with managers and so on there. So when you're just kind of like, hovering around the $1 million net profit area, it kind of means it's going to be heavily only owner reliant on you. Yes, you might have a team, you might have some staff, but still, if you got hit by a bus tomorrow, the chance of, everything going well the next day is more than likely, things are going to start to crumble quickly. So what we're going to say here is we're just going to say medium. Now, industry. I'm not sure what industry you're from, but let's say kind of the most common people we kind of get reaching out to us are e-commerce, hospitality. Then there's also like construction and trades. So let's go with construction and trades. Okay, so your average sale range here, this is Australian dollars, is anywhere from a 2 million to about a 3.59 million. Now, the EBITDA reported is $984,500. Earnings before add backs. PBITDA, so that's now adding back, right? So that's saying we're adding back in the owner's wage plus those personal expenses there, which brings your PBITDA to $1,024,500. Now, the multiple. This, like I said, this is going to be a typical multiple for an Australian business that fit this criteria here. So 2 to 3.5x. How do we get it to a 3.5 more? Well, there's going to be other things here. If we go down here, damn it. I thought there was going to be some, how fast you'll sell. Right. So some things that factor in on a better multiple. How systemized is the business? How separated is your client and customer concentration? Like, are you heavily reliant on project work or only a couple of clients? Like, if one client leaves you, does the business go down? Can the business run if a couple clients drop off? Is the work project-based or serviced work? Are you on multiple channels? Is a lot of your marketing organic? So the way you get clients, is it more organic, or do you have to go out and physically do things or run ads on advertising in order to get the clients there? So there's a lot of these factors here that will decide on like how big the multiple is or how little it is here. So you can expect somewhere around there, but with those factors at play. Your profit margin's around 24%, which is actually kind of high. So the typical business is anywhere around like 15 to 20%. So that's kind of high. But anyway, like if it's 15, obviously by the time you put your figures in here, whatever that is, it is. If it's high, great. That's ideal. But for this example, this is a little bit higher than what the average would be. Now, where you price changes how fast you sell. Something to remember as well. Pricing toward a lower end, obviously you're going to attract more buyers because it's for the value of the business, it's more affordable for a bigger value, so it's of more interest, just like anything. If there was a Lamborghini, there was nothing wrong with it, it was brand new, and it was selling for $50,000, you'd almost be like, that seems like a scam because it's too good to be true, right? So the quicker, or the more we can get your business to that kind of understanding, that irresistibility where someone's like, this seems too good to be true. The more we can get it around there, the quicker your business is going to sell, for obvious reasons. Now, the higher the price is weighted towards, a much higher figure, then obviously we enter different buyer brackets. So your typical like buyers that are at a lower end who can just take money from their house, or they've got money sitting around, or they can even go to a bank and lend the money. Those people, it's going to be much easier for them to buy a lower price business. On the higher end, it's going to be more difficult for them, but it's where you open up into like strategic buyers. So other businesses, firms, funds, people like that are going to start looking to buy the business from you because they've got the funding, they've got the operation already. They can see the value in paying more money for it. So there's things to think about there. Now, down here as well, like I said, if you do, and I do recommend you getting a proper valuation done by, someone like myself who's an actual qualified business broker. You don't have to go with me. Like, if you want to go with someone else, by all means, go with someone else. That's fine. But that's why you want to go with an actual broker to get the valuation done, because even walking away with this, as much as I would say this is pretty close to how it's going to be, there are going to be factors that you probably don't want to admit. And as a result, you're ignoring them. And so you're thinking like, no, I should get this amount of money. But there's actual factors that would hurt the valuation. So it's good to work with a broker where someone like myself can actually give you a true valuation process. But yeah, as a typical business owner, that you don't really need to know much about accounting or the valuation process unless you want to. But for the typical business owner, and also, yeah, this is, I would say, pretty good estimate of what you can expect when it comes to selling your business. And then, like I said, if you want something more in depth, please get in contact with us ASAP by clicking contact up there or this button down here, and it'll take you to our contact page.